Healthy oceans are not just beautiful, they are vitally important to global food security, human health, and nutrition. Today, we're going to explore the United Nations Fish Stocks Agreement, or UNFSA, and why it's a crucial step towards preserving our oceans. You may be worried about the state of the world's high seas fisheries, and with reason. The health of our oceans impacts us all, from trade or commerce to communities that rely on sustenance fishing to nourish their families. It's important to understand the threats to our oceans and what tools exist under international law to address these. Overfishing due to overcapacity, illegal, unreported and unregulated fishing, and ineffective management, as well as degradation to marine ecosystems, are threatening ocean sustainability. The United Nations Fish Stocks Agreement is a global treaty on fisheries management. It provides a detailed legal framework for the conservation and management of two important categories of fish stocks: straddling fish stocks and highly migratory fish stocks. And so you may be asking, what are those? Why are they important? Straddling fish stocks are stocks which are located both in the exclusive economic zone of one or more coastal states and on the high seas, thereby straddling the outer limit of coastal states' fisheries jurisdiction. They include fish species such as cod, hake, squid. Highly migratory fish stocks are made up of fish that migrate over large distances in and out of states' exclusive economic zones and the high seas. They include species such as tuna, swordfish, and marlin. Together, they make up the wide majority of commercially exploited high seas fish stocks. What they have in common is that they are present both in waters under the jurisdiction of coastal states and on the high seas, where ships of any state can fish for them. The objective of the agreement is to ensure the long-term conservation and sustainable use of straddling fish stocks and highly migratory fish stocks so that they are available to both present and future generations. State parties to the agreement are required to actively manage such stocks in accordance with a set of agreed principles, such as basing measures on the best scientific evidence available, applying precautionary and ecosystems approaches to fisheries management, assessing the impacts of fishing not just on target stocks, but on dependent and associated species, as well as the marine environment, minimizing pollution and protecting biodiversity. States are required to take measures to ensure that their own fishing activities are well managed and sustainable by imposing restrictions on their own fishing vessels. They are also required to cooperate with other states, either directly or through intergovernmental organizations called regional fisheries management organizations and arrangements, to ensure that the stocks are well managed as a whole, taking into account all fishing for those stocks. The required measures include scientific assessment of the status of stocks, exchange of data and information on stocks and fishing activities, the development of conservation and management measures based on science, monitoring, control, and surveillance of fishing activities, and compliance and enforcement action against violators. What are RFMOs and what role do they play? Regional Fisheries Management Organizations, or RFMOs, provide a forum for states fishing for stocks covered under the agreement on the high seas to cooperate amongst themselves and with coastal states in whose waters the stocks are also present. By regulating the fishing activities of all states that are fishing for a certain stock, RFMOs can ensure that fishing is kept at a level which ensures the sustainability of the stock over the long term. The agreement aims to make RFMOs more effective in their conservation and management role by establishing minimum standards for their performance. The agreement, as opposed to many other important fisheries instruments, is legally binding and enforceable. States parties have a duty under international law to implement the agreement. Without fully participating in the agreement, the state of the world's fisheries will continue to decline. Without all states becoming parties to the agreement, we are limiting its effectiveness at the global level. States who are not parties to the agreement are not bound by its provisions, although they still have obligations under the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea to cooperate in the conservation and management of covered stocks. Secondly, There are still bad actors who engage in illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing that undermines conservation and management measures. Third, there are still implementation gaps amongst parties. Unfortunately, participation in the agreement is not yet universal. The agreement does have 93 states parties, which include the wide majority of states fishing for straddling fish stocks or highly migratory fish stocks on the high seas. Greater participation in the agreement would enhance its effectiveness and build momentum for global sustainability. So what can you do? Raise awareness, encourage participation, call for full and effective implementation, call for the strengthening of RFMOs, choose sustainable seafood.